it's like anything else, and everyone else here, as you start sharing this with people, the more you start talking about it, um, the more you begin to understand it yourself. I've been doing this. I've been studying religion and Buddhism and mindfulness and meditation for a long time. I've been practicing for a long time, and since I've started to teach it, my I'm suddenly going to another level myself. It's amazing how that happens. So I encourage all of you to please share it with your loved ones and your friends and those who will listen. Some of them will think you're crazy, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and get started. I I want to start out with a quick exercise. So usually we don't go into one this quick, but I have a couple things I want to do. And so I want everyone to go ahead and get comfortable. This isn't we're not going to start out with a deep meditation at first. We're going to do a quick exercise, and then we're going to talk some more, and and then we will finish off with a meditation like we usually do. So go ahead and get comfortable. But like I said, it's not necessary to be in a position to do a long meditation. Um, so as you get comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and begin to inhale deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Just your traditional rhythmic breathing. And I want you to just take a few deep breaths, and let's just calm ourselves down, calm our minds a little bit, get your pulse to slow down, start to kind of clear your head a little bit. Don't scream at your monkey mind. Just just look at it like you look at your children when they're acting up. Let it go and breathe. Okay, as I begin to talk, I want you to continue your breathing. If your mind begins to wander, I want you to listen to my voice. But if your mind begins to wander, then I want you to come back and focus on your breathing. That's the most important thing. I'm going to walk you through a visualization exercise. So I want you continue to clear your mind and focus on my voice. And I want you to listen to the words that I give you and do your best to visualize the scenario that I give you. Right now, I want you to imagine that you are in your kitchen and that you reach out and you pick up a juicy, ripe orange. You pick it up in your hands. You have this orange clasped in your palm with your fingers. And visualize taking the fingers from your other hand and you begin to slide your fingertips over the bright orange skin of the orange. I want you to imagine how the dimpled texture of the peel feels against your fingertips. But take a moment just to gaze at the orange. Notice the bright orange color. Notice the dimples in the peel itself, any imperfections it may have. Now I want you to gently squeeze the fruit in your hand. Don't crush it, just gently squeeze. And pay particular attention to what this feels like. Now I want you to visualize raising the orange and placing it directly beneath your nose. And as you inhale, breathe in that crisp, clean citrus smell. Now I want you to imagine peeling the orange by digging in your thumb or your thumbnail beneath the surface of the skin, puncturing it. A little bit of juice squirts or flows through the puncture hole, and you begin peeling off the skin. Imagine your fingers and your thumb working to remove the outer layers of the fruit as you peel it. Feel the zestful spray of the juice begins to run into your hand. And imagine the distinctive citrus aroma that is now filling the room. Once you've fully peeled the orange, imagine dividing it into segments, laying it out in a bowl or a plate in front of you in anticipation of eating it. Now notice the segments as they're laid out before you, how juicy each segment is, filled with that sweet tasting orange juice. And I want you to visualize picking up one slice, and I want you to pop it into your mouth. And imagine feeling the sweet orange juice burst into your mouth and onto your tongue as you gently bite down. Okay, I want you to come back to me. You gently open your eyes. And would anyone like to share their experience? Most people who do this exercise, they report an experience that the experience is like they were literally, it was literally happening. Um, People report that they're able to literally smell the orange, taste the orange. Um, Many people say that their mouths begin to water, that it becomes very real for them. And I'd like to know if anyone had felt that sensation here, had that experience here. Um, so this is what we're looking for. Okay, so what you have just demonstrated yourself to yourself is the power of your perception. Okay, we've talked about this before, that your perception is what makes things real, and your as you were imagining it's so powerful. Your perception is so powerful, and it's interlinked with your imagination, that the orange began to become very real in front of you. There is no orange. The only orange that was there was in your brain, but your body and the responses began to think that it was very real simply through your thought process. Okay, so this is very critical to what we've been talking about, and that's why we did this exercise, because I need you to see I need you to see that I'm telling you the truth. I need you to believe what I've been telling you, that your mind controls your environment, controls your reality. Um, the visualization is very, I'm going to go in more into that portion of a second, but I want to take a second just for visualization. Visualization is so important, that I'm a basketball coach. I've coached basketball for 30 years. I'm from Indiana, so that's what we do there. And there was a study done, and it might have been done at Stanford. Don't quote me on that. Please don't quote me on that. But there was a study done with basketball players where they had groups shoot free throws, and they had a group physically practice free throws, and they had another group uh, practice in their mind. They visualized their practice. It was all in their mind. And consistently, the group that practiced through visualization, when it came time to test, they made a higher percentage of their shots over the group that physically practiced. And the hypothesis there is that the group that practiced through visualization did it, they shot perfectly every time they shot. Think about that. So as they visualized, their form was perfect, the shot went in, so their mechanics were perfect. It was repetitive, and their confidence was up because the shot went in every time. They were in a controlled environment. They were able to be comfortable. Versus the other group who had kind of a realistic thing going on, and their form could be different, and they miss their shots half their time or whatever. That's very, very important. That's what the key to visualization is, very important, which is a different topic. It's something that I teach a lot of my clients, um, to visualize what you want your life to be like. And that'll come into play over the next couple of weeks to a lesser extent than it being the focal point. But visualization is key. We have to see what we want. Begin with the end of mind. Dr. Stephen Covey. That's one of the 7 habits of highly successful people. We have to begin with the end of mind, and that means visualize what you want. Visualize who you want to be, what you want your life to be like. And I just showed you the power of the visualization. It's huge. Okay. So I don't know if I don't know my demographics here. I know that my boys and I love the Matrix movie. So I don't know if that's more of a guy thing or everybody. I know they were popular. So, but the Matrix is one of my favorite movies. And in the Matrix, there's a scene where Morpheus and Neo are talking, and Neo asks him. He says, "Is this real?" They're in the simulator. He says, "Is this real?" And Morpheus asks Neo a simple question. He says, "What is real?" And then he goes on to say, "If real is what you can feel, smell, taste, and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain," which is exactly what we just experienced right here. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. I see it's blowing up. Ah, I knew I liked you. Loves the Matrix. It's very, very deep movie series. The more you watch it, the deeper it gets. It's great. Um, so, oh, all right. So let's go on a little more about this. Okay, so this is when we get into perception and we get into visualization and the power of the mind. This is the whole the glass full, glass empty, half empty thing, right? And people say that as a running joke that somebody sees a half full or half empty. Okay, but let's think about that a little deeper. All right, why is that? Why do we look at it differently? And is that okay that we look at it differently? Should we look at it differently? Well, we won't answer these questions tonight, and they probably won't be answered for another 5,000 years of humanity. But for our purposes, from my experience, and the point I want to make is that there's no difference between the glass, whether it's half empty or it's half full. There's no difference. The only difference is your perception. And that's a simple analogy. I want to tell you a story and give you a deeper analogy. I want to give you a chance, tell you a little bit more about me and give you some insight into my life. And this is only a slight insight. My story is actually an unbelievable story. And so this is just a very small part of it. But I want to share it with you as an analogy, a deeper analogy to what I'm talking about. So in my previous life, I was a full-time firefighter in Indianapolis, in the west side of Indianapolis. And while I was a firefighter, I've been an EMT for about 20 years, and I've been a full-time firefighter for about 10. And you have to excuse me. I was due for a promotion, to be promoted to a division chief, which is an administrative officer. It's a very high-ranking position, and I was up for that promotion. I was actually up against one other person for that promotion, and I did not get the promotion for political reasons. And I mean, politics is part of it. My uncle, who was a politician in the town, he'd run against a town council position, town council president, um, and the person he ran against ended up being best friends with the chief of the department, who had the final say so over who was actually promoted to division chief. Now, I've been in MTA for 20 years, firefighter for 10, had 18 certifications, and at that time, two relative college degrees. And they gave it to a 24-year-old kid who barely had 3 years on the job, and he had five certifications and no college. So it's pretty cut and dry of why it wasn't given to me. So I was angry and and I was humiliated. It was a tough spot to be in. It was a lot of division in the department when it happened. It was very weird, a weird time. So a few months later, while we were training on shift, I was actually injured while on duty, and I ended up tearing my shoulder, and I was forced out of the department on a medical disability. So that whole thing was a nightmare. Suddenly, I'd lost my job that I loved, and there was also the added realization that had I gotten the promotion that I deserved, I would not have been on shift and not gotten injured and still had my job that I loved. So it was a weird time. So right in the middle of this, I decided when I began to be separated from the fire department that I needed to go back and get my master's degree, because now I was going back into the workforce. I had to, and being a firefighter doesn't translate into much unless you have an education, and then you can try to get administration or whatever. So I decided to go back and work on my master's degree. A few months later, we received a call in the middle of the night that my oldest friend, which happens to be my wife's brother, at 42 years old, was in a he was in a medically induced coma because he had stopped breathing. He lived here in Florida, and he took care of my mother-in-law. So obviously, we immediately left and we came down to Florida. We were down here for 2 weeks. 11 days after we got down here, I made the decision to unplug my best friend from 30 years, my best friend of 30 years, to remove him from life support because there was no way that he could recover. Um, and if that wasn't traumatic enough, my mother-in-law had retired to Florida. She'd been down here probably by that time by like 7 years, and she absolutely did not want to move back to the Midwest. She didn't want to go back to Indiana under any circumstances. Was her home. She wanted to stay here, but she couldn't stay by herself. Um, there's actually more to this story about my brother-in-law's girlfriend embezzling money from my mother-in-law and this and that, but that's really inconsequential to the overall point, other than it was very stressful and very traumatic while we were down here. But we made the decision to uproot our family and move to Florida. While making arrangements, when I say making arrangements, over the course of 6 months, driving back and forth, remodeling a house that we bought down here, and almost 6 months to the day after my brother-in-law passed away, our adopted son Michael unexpectedly passed away in his sleep at the age of 22. We were actually supposed to catch a plane that morning or I'm sorry, it was on a Friday. We were supposed to catch a plane on a Monday to come down to Florida to work on the house again, and we couldn't because we had to bury Michael. And the darkness was very, very real during this 8-month period. Our realtor also mislisted our home, and our home didn't sell for 10 months in Indianapolis while we were trying to move, and it was a horrible period of our lives. However, today I live 12 miles from the beach in Southwest Florida. I have a beautiful home. I have a pool with a cage. I have a garden. Includes two different types of orange trees. I have a lemon tree, an avocado tree. We have many banana trees. We'll have hundreds of bananas here in a few months. I have a beautiful fish pond surrounded by hibiscus flowers. I have my master's degree now. I work from home, working for an amazing university, helping students. I help them stay motivated and focused so that they can earn their master's degree. Um, I'm blessed that I have a generous pension from the fire department. So the moral of this story is most of the time we have absolutely no way of knowing what lies beyond the darkness. Um, but I can tell you how you look at it and you perceive it and how you choose to accept it has a tremendous influence on the outcome. Tremendous. Um, when I tell this story, I often get a lot of sympathy, and understandably so. And I don't tell it to get the sympathy because I tell it just the way I'm telling it to you. It's awkward to accept the sympathy because though that time in our lives was so horrible, it's a very sobering reality that if those things don't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. That is a fact. I wouldn't be sitting here. If any one of those things changed, I wouldn't be sitting here. Okay. I could choose to dwell on the details of that story. I miss my brother-in-law. We had just talked a few days before he died. We just talked about when my wife and I thought we could retire. When I'd retired from the fire department, we moved down. We were going to get the band back together. We used to play in a van when we were younger. We were gonna do that and play down here. And I miss my adopted son like crazy. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. I can dwell on those negative aspects, but I choose to dwell on the things that, I choose to dwell on the things and so I don't miss the opportunity to celebrate the positive things in my life now. If I don't celebrate those and don't concentrate those, they pass me right by. It's like having your face down on your phone. If you're riding in the car where someone's driving past a beautiful field with beautiful flowers and mountains in the background, you're missing the whole thing because your face is down in the phone. And I refuse to do that. So, and I'd also like to add to that I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the butterfly effect, but the butterfly effect in my opinion, is very real. Um, Not only that whole scenario doesn't happen, I'm not sitting here talking to you right now. Lord knows what I'd be doing, but any one of those things don't happen, I could potentially not be sitting here. One little thing can always change anything. Um, and we can't pick or choose which things happen to us and which ones they don't. We like to think we have control over that. That's part of causes anxiety and angst and pain and suffering because we don't have as much control as we think we do. And trying to maintain that control is causes a lot of the anxiety, which mindfulness helps with that. But anything changes. I want you to think about this. Okay. Anything changes from the time you were born until right this second, you're probably not sitting here with me right now. You're probably not in the home that you live in. You're probably not surrounded by the people that love you that you're around now. You're certainly probably not here. Here's a perfect example. You don't join Facebook. You don't find this group. Catherine doesn't create this group. You don't find this group. Catherine's parents don't meet. Catherine doesn't happen. She doesn't start this group. It's not here. Here's a bombshell. Your parents don't meet. You're not here. Chew on that one for a few minutes. So the the pain and the trauma of what we're going through is very real. It is very real. It needs to be dealt with. You We've talked about that with therapy and mindfulness and talking about it in this group. It is very real. It needs to be dealt with. But if that doesn't happen with your mother and your biological father, you're not sitting here right now. You're not where you are. You don't exist. Not even right here. You don't exist. So that's a blessing that you're here. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're glad you're here. It's a blessing. My parents don't divorce. My mom doesn't meet my stepdad. My stepdad doesn't buy a house in this particular small town. I don't move there. We don't move there. I don't meet my future brother-in-law. If I don't know my future brother-in-law, I don't go over to his house and realize his sister's smoking hot and start hanging out at his house more often. And she's in the other room right now waiting for me to get off here. Okay. More than that, I don't learn to play guitar. We don't. I'm not married to my wife. He doesn't learn to play guitar. I'm not married to my wife. Either of our class schedules are slightly different. We don't meet each other. They, they choose. They don't move to that small town. They move somewhere else or stay where they're at. It just goes on and on and on and on. The butterfly effect is very real. So everything that happens to us puts us where we belong. We wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for every single detail in our lives. And so the perception, the power is in the perception. You have to use these tools we're learning and the visualization that we just did, and start to take back control of your own mind. It's being hijacked by wandering random thoughts that aren't necessarily you. You think they're you, but they're not. They're just the ones you choose to listen to. Start taking back control of who you want to be and who you are, and be grateful you're here. Yeah, it sucks that we most of us don't know who our father was. It's terrible. I get it. I don't. Mine's gone. My mother won't admit it. I'm not talking to her. My biological father's gone. That's hard to deal with. But I wouldn't be here if it hadn't happened. And I have to choose that focal point. That's where your happiness begins. I promise you. There is no other argument around this. So there's a great quote that I heard, and today my wife was doing yoga, and I heard on her yoga video, and I meant to look up who the author is. Bonus points to anybody who tells me that next week. But the quote is it only continues to exist because you continue to think about it. It's powerful. It's really, really powerful. The orange existed. It was, you almost willed that orange into existence about 20 minutes ago. It was there. You could smell it. You could feel it. You could taste it. You have that power. You are way more powerful than you give yourself credit for. The amazing thing is that one of the lectures I give, I just gave a friend of mine who needed to hear it, and I told him yesterday. I said he's an amazing person. He'll give the shirt off his back to anybody. He just tries too hard. And I said, man, aren't you tired? Aren't you tired of trying to make everybody like you, of trying to make the right decisions, of trying to do this and trying to do just stop. Just stop. If you stop, one of the most cruel realizations in life is that if you die today, your employer is going to put an ad in the paper tomorrow. Somebody's going to clean all your family who loves you. I have no doubt they love you. Your family's going to come and pick through all your stuff and clean it all out, and then they're going to send the rest to Goodwill or the dump or to some charity, but it's gone. That's a harsh reality. But then you can start to work backwards from there and realize, well, if it really is that insignificant, and it's for all of us. I mean, it isn't just you, it's me, it's my wife, it's everybody. The world isn't going to stop turning when we go. So when you begin to realize that, you're like, well, maybe I could just stand here and not try to change something or make something happen. And that's when real liberation starts to set in. My wife, I grew up in Speedway, Indiana, which is where the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is. I had gone to something like 22 out of 23 Indy 500s. And in a 23-year span, I'd gone to 22 of them. And one of them I didn't go to was only because I was in boot camp. It's because I grew up like 4 blocks from the track, and that's just what you did. Is you went to the race. That's what everybody did. You lived there. Everybody else in the world came to this small town, and we all went to the race. And I remember one year, I said to my wife, I said, "Hey, This is, and I said just like this. I said, "Hey, our lives were just chaotic at the time, and I don't think we'll get a chance to talk. That's a different part of my story. That's way more impactful than what I just told you. I promise you, lives are chaotic." And I said, "Hey, what if we don't go to the race this year?" And she looked at me like, "Huh? We just we did It's something we didn't think about." And then she was like, "Well, I don't know." And I thought, well, yeah, we kind of talked about it. So we made the decision that we gave our tickets to probably our children, and her and I sat on the porch and watched all the people come into town and park their car and walk to the race. And we just sat on our porch drinking lemonade and listening to the race and watching all the people come back. And a storm came and we gave some rides to some people that were trying to get to the car, but it was a tornado coming. And it was an amazing experience. But we just gotten so caught up in doing what we'd always done. We just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again that we never stopped to think about there was another option. And when we stopped and just let go and didn't do anything, we had an amazing experience. And that's what I'm talking about. Just letting go. Letting go is very, very, very empowering. Actually, control is based in fear, that we're afraid to let go. That's a very that's another topic for another night. That's very, very, very deep topic in itself. So, um, you know, I can't I can't get into that one too much. Um, I I can't, because personally I can't imagine not doing the DNA test. But that's my personality. I can deal with anything as long as I know what I'm dealing with, and I know everybody's different in that sense, and I can't judge that because that's a difference in personalities. But I certainly I look at that a little differently. But the reality is that you did do the DNA test, that we're here, and now it's the whole life give you lemons, make lemonade, or in our case, oranges and orange juice. So he said, "How do I quit thinking about it?" So it's a great question because it's a really sneaky answer. It sounds like the answer sounds like a politician just blowing smoke up the butt, because the harder you try not to think about it, the more you think about it. It's a really an odd concept. It's really an odd reality, but um, it's like golf. I don't know if anybody here plays golf, but one of the worst things to do when you're playing golf is to try hard. You can't play golf and really try at which is why I'm not good at it, because I'm very focused. I'm very gung ho. I'm very, and so that's why I study mindfulness. I'm actually now thinking about taking up golf again for the mindfulness purpose, to try to put that more in practice. But so, Penny, it comes over times with the neuroplasticity that we talked about changing the way you think about things. And the trick is what I call a manual override. When you catch yourself thinking about it or about something negative, is to stop and acknowledge, okay, I'm thinking about this again. Don't be harsh or judgmental. Say, God, that isn't going to do you any good at all. That makes it worse. But you catch yourself and you say, okay, I'm thinking about this again. I've chosen not to think about this. I'm now going to choose to think about this. And in my experience, the best thing is not to be like, okay, so I'm thinking about my biological father and the DNA tests, and I choose not to think about this, so I'm going to think about banana pudding. That's not going to work. That will catch up with you. Okay. But to think about your biological father, your biological mother, whatever, in the DNA test, whatever, and you're thinking negative thoughts about it, and then you catch yourself and say, okay, and even if you use me, say, okay, I don't want to think about this negatively anymore. I remember Bradley saying, if my biological father and my biological mother don't meet, then I'm not here. And I have a wonderful partner, or wonderful children, or wonderful brothers and sisters, whatever the case may be, and shifting, and then you just guide your emotions where you want them to go. Okay. See the difference between, I'm not going to think about this, I'm going to think about this. And hey, I don't know that this is where we should be. Let's look at it a little differently. And it's not easy, but it gets easier with practice. So that's a great question. But if you allow this, this will be the best thing that ever happened to you, because it will make you stronger than you ever imagined and invincible. And I can promise you that, because I have a part of my story that that really set this emotion for me to handle my situation like I'm trying to help you handle your situation. But it's because something that happened to me 15 years ago. So I believe that with all my heart. So um, do and don't, but don't. It's important. He says she chooses to stop thinking about it. And it's important that you also grasp that you don't angrily stop thinking about it. Okay, it's important. One of the funniest things to me, and I may have said this before, and if I did, I apologize, is it cracks me up. And when I say cracks me up, I don't mean to make light of this, okay, by any stretch of the imagination. But when people say to me, I don't care what people think. Yes, you do. Because if you didn't really care what people thought, there wouldn't be so much negative emotion in your voice. Okay. So I had two dogs. One of them just unexpectedly passed away. God, I'm like dumping everything on you. I'm sorry, but it's not like you don't have enough of your own stuff to carry. We have one of our dogs just passed away about 6 months ago. I think it is now. Two very different dogs. Okay, one dog will bark at any sound anywhere, and it's a nervous bark. And he's a big dog. He just gets freaked out and starts barking. And when he meets another dog, he's so petrified of other dogs. We can't have him around other dogs, because one false move and he attacks the other dog. But in a way that another dog who had confidence and fighting skills would probably hurt him very easily. The other dog, the one that passed away, never got rattled. He could be at a fence and have a dog snarling and drooling and showing its teeth, and that dog would never ever even flinch. But I saw another dog come at him once, and within a split second, he had the dog on its back and had his teeth on its throat, and didn't even attack the dog. Now, the difference between the two is one is driven in fear and one is driven in confidence. The one who was confident didn't have a reason to react. He was just very calm. He just took it as it come. The one who had the fear. So we have to be careful with the anger, with that. When we choose to stop thinking about it, we have to make sure that I'm going to stop thinking about it. Because now we're bottling emotions, and that's not going to work. I promise you, that is not going to work. Because like a pressure cooker, if you put a lid on a pan that's not a pressure cooker and you turn the heat way up, eventually that thing's going to explode. The pressure cooker has a relief valve on it to let the pressure out. So we have to let the pressure out. We do that through mindfulness, through practice, through talking in the group, through therapy, that kind of thing. So we have to just be very careful. And I've spent a lot of time saying this because it's very, very important, because bottled up emotions cause a lot of problems. They cause mental problems. They cause health problems. Not to mention, if you take it out on someone else, that causes legal problems as well. So be very, very careful. But you're absolutely on the right on the right path there. So okay, God, these comments are so great. I can't read them all. I need to get you guys into meditation, but I promise I will come back through here and keep this conversation going, because this is good stuff. I thank you so much for for participating. Um, we, I think we, I think we just need some discussion time. I mean, we got a little bit of a lesson and a meditation every night, but we need to add some stuff in here to just have some conversations. So, um, all right, let's. I was going to recap, but that'll take a while. I want to kind of so we've talked about a lot of stuff, the chronic stress, awareness is fluid, that kind of stuff. Last week, excuse me. Last week we talked about your emotions are valid. They're yours. It's what makes you human. We just talked about that again. They'll never go away. And why would you want them to? I mean, it's what makes us who we are. But so your emotions should never be repressed. We can separate our behavior from our emotions, and learn to use them productively, not destructively. Big difference there. And that's why we're here. So your thoughts are not who you are. They're just ramblings of a monkey mind. Your thoughts don't make you who you are. Your actions do. And now we're becoming mindful, and we're making choices of what actions we want to take. And then so we get to build who we are. Okay? Because who you are is who you were when you're born. Everything else is learned behavior. If you learned it, then you can unlearn it. I feel like those Facebook memes. It says, if you learn it, then you can unlearn it. Change my mind. I think I'll make a meme like that, because if you learn it, you can unlearn it. And there isn't anyone that'll change my mind on it. Okay. It's neuroplasticity. It's a scientific fact. Okay. Your ego is the mask. Our egos are the mask that we wear. It's who we try to convince others and ourselves that we are. Okay. It's created by learned behavior. It's all labels. It's how we compartmentalize ourselves. We're mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, accountants, firefighters, runners, hikers, musicians, gamers, hunters, chefs. I don't know. It's the labels we give ourselves. Okay. And then we wear this mask and we tell everybody that that's who we are. The ego's job is really to make you feel better about yourself. It's to make sense of the world and everything in it. And it's to make yourself feel better. But it can't always be trusted. It's a created entity. Okay. It's not, you didn't have it when you were born. You were just a blank canvas. And you've created this story, this ego of who you are over the span of your lifetime. You can go back and undo all that. You can completely change your identity right now. I'm living proof. It's part of my story. I'll share that at some point. I'll share that. But I'm a completely different person than I was 15 years ago. Hands down. Okay. All right. The truth. So the ego, I call the ego the liar. This gets into some religious crossover. We don't have that kind of time to get that deep, but the liar, as people get in, they talk about the devil and Satan, those type of things, that dwells within and talks to you and tells you lies, and it's the monkey mind, it's the ego, it's those type of things. The truth lies deep within. It's what some call intuition, some call it the voice of God. It doesn't matter what you call it. You have to listen beyond the noise to hear it. Okay. So in mindfulness, we're practicing to sit back and just observe the chatter. And when we start to observe, then the voices will start to make sense. We'll be able to start to realize it just begins to all make sense. So there's no judgment. You just pay attention. And eventually the intuition will start to naturally rise to the top. And you'll be able to step back, be calm, breathe, make rational decisions, and your life will change. Okay. We also talked about that the secret is that by acknowledging the noise, we can appreciate the quiet, and the quiet in between the noise, okay, In between the thoughts are the gaps. Okay, and the gaps are where we find peace. Okay, so any questions before we get ready to do our meditation? Yeah, absolutely. That's going really deep. But you're right. Ego is what creates a division. It makes you think that you're different from everybody else, and your ego will tell you you're different and you're special from everybody else, and that seems like a very good thing, but it creates that separation. And when we all realize that we're all, that's what I talk about with the that we're all broken, and because we're all broken, we're all normal. But with the ego, when we think we're different than everybody else, and then we realize we're broken, then we think we're the only ones that are broken and something's wrong with us. So that the negativity, it starts going the other way, and it becomes very, very, very harmful. And we have to be very cognizant of that. The beauty is that Jim Rohn said, if you don't like your situation, then change it. You're not a tree. Uh, and I love that quote. The beauty is you have 55 years of unlearning to do, but the beauty is that you're a human being, and now you're aware. And those two things right there, being a human being and being an aware human being, you can you have the ability to unlearn it. Thank goodness. We could just be having a different conversation here. I could just say, well, you're human, and neuroplasticity isn't a real thing, and you can't unlearn anything, and so you're just screwed, right? So we have the ability to learn, and be grateful for that. So, all right, we'll see you if you're not gone already. Sorry, I had to run over. Hopefully she can come back. So, okay, all right. So let's get into our quick meditation. Please get comfortable, and all right. Give me a second. I think I have the wrong. I put the wrong one in here. But I can find it real quick. So as I'm getting this together, please get comfortable. Remember, you can sit in a chair, put your feet flat on the floor. If you're sitting on the floor, you cross your legs, uh, put a cushion underneath you if you're so inclined. Here we go. Okay. All right. So I'd like you to close your eyes. Make sure that you have good posture, your back straight, your eyes are closed. Take a deep breath through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And continue to breathe. Inhale and exhale. And let's do this for a few moments so you can, again, calm your mind down, slow your heartbeat, relax. As you continue to breathe, don't force it. With each breath, try to take a little deeper breath than you did before. You will notice your lungs begin to stretch, and this happens as your hypothalamus begins to send signals to your vagus nerve, telling the rest of the body everything is okay. We're in a relaxed state. We can we can calm down, and your entire body will begin to relax. As you continue to breathe, I want you to begin by becoming aware of a simple blessing in your life right now. This can be anything. It can be something simple, such as Maybe you're warm and or comfortable where you're sitting right now. It could be comfortable, the feeling of comfortable clothes against your skin. Uh, Perhaps you can uh, hear birds singing in the background, or your favorite pet is close to you. Whatever it is, I want you to not only notice it, but allow yourself to fully immerse yourself into this experience of gratitude for whatever this blessing is. Do so with intention. And as you continue to breathe and focus on this blessing in your life, I want you to notice and focus on the positive energy and the positive feelings that this brings. And as you allow the appreciation, the gratitude to begin to feel your thoughts, you will notice an expansion of these feelings. And this is what I meant by immersion. Allow yourself to be immersed in this gratitude and this positive energy, and allow yourself to enjoy it. You certainly deserve this blessing. You certainly deserve to appreciate it, and you deserve the positive energy and the positive feelings that comes with it. Take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate these feelings. Please continue to breathe. Next, I'd like you to take a moment to focus on someone in your life who has played a minor role in supporting your happiness and or your comfort. I'd like to suggest that you choose someone that you do not necessarily know very well, but somehow has played a small part in ensuring your needs are met at some level. Um, a few suggestions would be perhaps garbage collectors who collect your garbage and ensure that you don't keep your own collections of garbage at your home. Perhaps it's your favorite barista who prepares your coffee for you every morning on your way to work. Perhaps your postal delivery person who day to day brings your mail right to your doorstep. Uh, Maybe an assistant at work who performs some small function that makes your job easier. It can be anyone, but we want this someone to play a small yet significant role in supporting you in your life so you're free to do the things that you must do to be happy and successful. And as you think about this person, I want you to take a moment to acknowledge and begin to truly understand how much you have benefited from this person's efforts. And as you begin to fully understand how you benefited from their efforts, then allow the feelings of appreciation and gratitude for this person to begin to expand and immerse yourself in those positive feelings. Please continue to breathe. Next, I'd like you to think about some items and some tools that you may use for work or in your personal life that enhances your life in some way. These can be computers, automobiles, clothing, soap, food, cooking utensils, telephones, wall art, furniture, bedding, shoes, anything. Choose one of these things that enhance your life and take a moment to understand and visualize everything that was needed for that product's creation. Whatever product it was, think about what it took to bring that product to you. Someone's creative vision, someone had to invent it. The initial capital or sweat equity it took to develop the original prototype, the materials, where the materials came from, how they were harvested, how they were produced to be able to put together to make this product, the manufacturing labor, all the way down to the purchasing managers, the shipping clerks, the truck drivers, the merchandising, the retail sales, everything it took, the delivery person, everything it took to create this product so it can make your life easier. And now with all of that, all of those people and all those resources in mind, I want you to begin to allow yourself to feel gratitude that through the effort of many people and quintessential timing, you were able to have access to this life enhancing item. Because through the butterfly effect, one of those things changes, you don't get it. Now allow yourself to immerse yourself in these feelings of gratitude. Please continue to breathe. Okay, next I want to take a moment to reflect on all the people you interact with on your daily lives. Okay, all of your friends, all of your family, all of your coworkers. And I want you to choose one particular person. I want you to take a moment to visualize them in your mind. I want you to see their face in your mind's eye. And I want you to really take a moment and think about, what does this person mean to you? What do you appreciate the most about this person? Is it who they are? Is it what you've experienced together? Maybe the impact they've they've had on your life? Perhaps it's something else. As you continue to breathe and continue to visualize and see them in your mind, think about these things. As you think about them, take a moment to reflect inward and notice what you are feeling as you think about them and think about this person. What emotions are you experiencing? physical sensations are you feeling? This is your intuition. This is your mindfulness. This is you listening to your body. Your body won't lie to you. Your ego will lie to you. Body will not lie to you. Now let's shift our focus to feeling the gratitude towards them. And again, allow the sensation of gratitude to expand and fill you up. And imagine this gratitude exuding from your pores, spilling out of your body around you. Now I want you to imagine that you box this gratitude up in a beautifully wrapped gift box. And I want you to visualize. We learned the power of visualization. I want you to visualize yourself giving this gift of gratitude to this person that you visualized as you simply say, thank you. As you continue to breathe, stay with this feeling of gratitude. Pay particular attention to any positive emotions and physical sensations associated with it. Continue to breathe. And now I would like you to think about anything in particular that happened to you today. It can be anything. A person whom you've recently or soon will spend time with, perhaps your children, a loving pet, any perhaps food available to nourish your body, or a musical instrument, perhaps your job, um, anything that you're grateful for today. Take a moment to continue this exercise. Take a moment to feel the appreciation and gratitude for that you have for this, whatever it is. And again, pause, turn your awareness inward, and pay particular attention to this experience as you simply observe. As our lives unfold, we make choices at every turn. Oftentimes, we can become focused on the challenging aspect of our daily lives. And this oftentimes creates unpleasant stress and unwanted emotions and physical sensations. But practicing cultivating gratitude is a skill that will greatly enrich your life. It helps us learn to shift our attention towards what is right in our lives. As the glass is half full. And it prevents us from focusing too much on the things that aren't pleasing to us. The glass is half empty. By practicing this skill consciously, you will even begin to find yourself being able to be grateful during difficult and unpleasant experiences, which is the goal. Okay, now I'd like to invite you to begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly move your extremities. Maybe shake them out. Begin to slowly move. You may open your eyes when you're ready. We didn't uh, do our sigh of relief. So if you'd like to take one more full deep breath and finish with a big, long, deep, audible sigh, I'm sure that would make you feel wonderful. I hope we had a long one tonight, and again, I apologize. I apologize we weren't able to keep it at 60 minutes, but I think we had a really, really great session. Again, I appreciate all the input, all of the questions and comments. I'll try to acknowledge, get on and respond to some of these, and I hope you'll check out the chat and some of these as conversations develop. I hope that the tonight's meditation was a little different, and I hope that you got something out of both exercises. The one we did at the beginning and the gratitude at the end. We'll expand on these as we move in the coming weeks. We're going to. I think I mentioned this last week. We're going to get a little deeper. We're going to get in. We're going to try to start digging around our negative emotions a little bit, and we're going to try to. I won't I won't take you too deep into those, because I don't want to push someone before they're ready, but I want to do enough to show you how to do it and to utilize that with your practice and utilize that with your therapist or whatever the case may be, to be able to start to heal. And so we're going to take the gratitude another step. We're going to get into anxiety, anger, self compassion, compassion for others. And as we work our way towards talking about forgiveness, which is a touchy subject around here, and I get it. So we're going to talk about it, and I think you'll find it interesting. So what we've done here is we have really set everything up. We've laid the groundwork that we're really going to get into the good stuff here the next couple of weeks, and will probably get pretty deep. It could get, for some of you, it could get pretty emotional, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. Um, but I'm really excited for where we're headed and what we're going to do, and I'm just grateful that you're here and you're a part of it. So, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. We'll be back at next Tuesday, um, and I will certainly look forward to it. So, I hope everyone has a great night and a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.